Dear friends of knowledge, the Wikimedia Foundation recently published a report on children's rights. All of us who are involved with Wikipedia should think about this. What do our actions have to do with children? And what negative consequences can our actions on Wikipedia have, or our omissions? Children can be readers of Wikipedia. Perhaps there are things in Wikipedia that are not suitable for children. Children can also become contributors to Wikipedia, but if children edit on this public platform, they can be contacted by people who do not have the child's best interests at heart. The Wikimedia movement organizes events in real life. This can also lead to problematic contacts. Dear all, I am Zico van Dijk and co-founder of a wiki encyclopedia for children, the Lexicon in German. Let me put it this way, of all the problems mentioned in the report, the Lexicon solves only one problem. The Lexicon offers content for children, content that is suitable for children. So you can simply send a child to the Lexicon when she needs to look something up. As for other problems, I'll come to that later. So what is this video about? Firstly, about children in our society. What status do children have? Secondly, about children in a wiki. A wiki is a certain kind of website that works according to certain principles. Is a wiki suitable for children? And thirdly, I'll go into some points from the report. There are some controversial issues that the Wikipedia community should urgently discuss. And finally, there are reasons why the community is probably not so keen to talk about these points. Firstly, children in society. Children and adults can't be friends. That sounds a bit harsh. We keep hearing that there are children's rights or that children also have human rights. That's true, but can we also start like this? Children and adults all have the same human dignity. But of course, children don't always have the same rights in society as adults. Children are not allowed to vote and children do not yet have full legal capacity. Children are people on the way to becoming a person as our society would like them to be. A person that can take responsibility for herself and a person who can live easily in society. Now it is important to prevent children from being harmed along this path, for example by media that impair children's development. I follow here the German Youth Protection Act. This also means that children and adults cannot be friends in the true sense of the word. This is because they do not meet as equals. Part of friendship is that you enter into a friendship voluntarily and can also end it again, and that a friend can set boundaries as to what he does not want to do in this friendship. Parents and the children can be friendly with each other, I hope so, but it's not a friendship, it's a very special relationship. Or for example, I have friends who have children. When I visit my friends, I also spend time with their children. But it would be strange if I otherwise made contact with these children without their parents knowing about it. Once again, relationships between children and adults are always special. Ultimately, it is at most a relationship of care. And of course, some people will now object that children can be at very different stages of development, that some 70-year-olds are much more mature and grown up than some 19-year-olds. But in my opinion, that is no reason to simply ignore such age limits. Secondly, what does all this have to do with a wiki? Well, Wikipedia is an open and public platform. Open means that everyone can participate. Public means that the content is publicly accessible to everyone in the world. Open and public, you can imagine that this can be a problem when it comes to children. First of all, a wiki means that you publish something. This is not a simple matter. You have to know what you are allowed to write in public. For example, you are allowed to criticize a film star in Wikipedia, with footnotes please, but you are not allowed to simply insult celebrities. That's why Wikipedia has very strict rules about what you can write about living people. And to be honest, even many adults don't know what you can write in public. If children or young people write something carelessly in an article, they can harm other people or harm themselves because they get in trouble for it. The next problem is that if minors are active on an open platform, they can be contacted by malicious adults, so this is cyber grooming. But some adults also misbehave in other ways. They are rude or aggressive, and that is already bad for other adults, but especially bad for children. Children may make a small mistake when editing in the wiki, and then they are verbally attacked by a bully. Another risk, young people learn that such rude behavior is normal, and that they imitate this behavior, perhaps even outside the wiki. Furthermore, minors may give away personal information about themselves in public, for example on their user page. And the issue is even more fundamental. In general, members of the Wikipedia community have a certain self-image. What does an ideal contributor look like? She shows initiative and is proactive. She sees problems on her own and solves them. She is self-taught. She teaches herself everything she needs to know to edit. She can represent her own interests and protect her personal rights. So Wikipedia is intended to be a community of equals, of individuals who treat each other as equals. None of this applies to children, or not in the same way. Thirdly, as I said, the report addresses various problems. I leave aside a lot of things like meetings in real life because this is primarily a question for the chapters, the national associations of Wikimedia. I'll start like this. What could be a controversial issue that needs to be talked about in the Wikipedia community? The first controversial issue is whether children should be allowed to participate in Wikipedia at all. The Wikimedia Foundation could state in the terms of use that you can only edit a Wikimedia wiki if you are already 14 years old, or 16 or 18. You could orientate yourself on other social media. However, other social media work differently to Wikipedia, people do different things there, so there could be reasons why the age limit on Wikipedia should be higher or lower. Some people then say, oh, a minimum age is completely stupid because you can't control it anyway. Then the child is lying when she registers an account herself. In addition, age is a personal information that would have to be stored safely in the Wikipedia system, rather inconvenient in terms of data protection. That's all true, of course. Nevertheless, I think that the Wikimedia Foundation, like any other organization, should be allowed to say what it thinks is right. If people don't abide by the rules, then they break the rules and then they can be sanctioned or banned. There's a huge difference between taking responsibility as a website owner and simply ignoring the issues. An age limit would also send a signal to third parties. Some teachers think that you can have school children to carry out assignments on Wikipedia, to post a new article, for example. But an official age limit would send a clear message. Dear teachers, the Wikipedia platform is not suitable for this. So teachers would have to come up with alternatives, for example, having students write articles in the classroom and then the teacher publishes the articles. Another point of contention, do we think it's a good idea for children to read Wikipedia? If so, we have to make sure that Wikipedia content is appropriate for children, that it does not impair or even jeopardize their development. And now just don't think about Wikipedia articles, but also about images or Wikidata information. Also, if children and young people are really to be our readers, then we have to write the articles in such a way that they are understandable for children and young people. This means that if we have a certain standard, then we have to set rules and put them into practice. If you don't want to do that, then you would have to label Wikipedia. For adults only would then appear on the main page. And in contact with schools, we would also have to make it very clear that we do not provide any guarantees. You'd better not send young people to Wikipedia. Sure, now there will be calls, ha ha ha, then the children will go to Wikipedia, All the more, prohibition makes people curious. Yes, but still, no guarantee, no liability. And why not consider this? Wikipedia should introduce a proper age check. If someone wants to contribute to Wikipedia, she needs a verified account. She would have to prove her real identity with an identity card and her age. And what about the readership? It would also be necessary to prevent minors from reading Wikipedia. This would also require an age check, an effective one. But yes, of course, nobody wants to go to all that trouble. And the consequences are dire. Fewer people would join Wikipedia, fewer would read it, drastically fewer. By the way, in my opinion, the Wikipedia community is well aware that Wikipedia is not made for children. But the Wikipedia contributors shy away from the final, consistent step of explicitly warning against Wikipedia. Instead, it is much easier to demand that parents and educators should pay more attention to what the children are doing on the internet. My summary. It has become clear that this is an important topic because the well-being of minors is at stake. But we also see how complicated it is to implement youth protection, and if the problem were to be taken seriously, drastic measures would have to be taken with drastic consequences. Can alternative wiki encyclopedias help? There are wiki encyclopedias for children. They deal with those controversial issues in very different ways. Many wikis for children don't find it a problem at all if children edit the articles there. We at the Lexicon, on the other hand, have decided that the most important thing is the quality of the articles, and if individual children register, then we can provide them with sufficient support online. This means when children contribute, they do so via teachers, and then only the teacher gets a user account, not the pupils of an entire class. And when it comes to Wikipedia, to be honest, I don't yet have a clear opinion on the controversial issues. But you shouldn't simply ignore the problems, otherwise Wikipedia could get into big trouble. Or perhaps a company will take over Wikipedia's content and turn it into a child-friendly service, perhaps thanks to artificial intelligence. All right, I have to be careful that the summary doesn't become its own section. Wikipedia and children, the topic remains interesting. Thanks for watching. See you next time.